Disclaimer, I am not saying that you cannot have a cat. I am not saying that vegans cannot adopt cats. I am not saying that vegans with cats are fake vegans. It's a complex issue. I do think it's wrong to breed a cat or to buy a cat from a breeder. See my last video on this topic here. But I'm not making this video in order to judge people, in order to judge vegans or anyone who has or wants to adopt a cat. This video is merely to inform, to talk about the problems surrounding cats, as well as some solutions for more industrious owners, cat owners, to try solutions that are personally just too difficult for me. It's why I personally, just me, why I will not be adopting another cat, any cat in the future after my wonderful Sniff, who you cannot see right now. My 20-year-old cat Sniff passes. My other two cats, McGurk and Finnegan, they passed just last year, unfortunately. But once he goes, that will be the last cat that I will have. I may adopt another pet, a dog or something in the future when I'm able to, but not a cat. Okay, so now on to the reasons why I will not be adopting another cat. So number one, cats often need to eat at least some meat. So I actually do have a video on this, very detailed, very long. It's like 30-minute long video on feeding cats vegan as well as dogs, but mostly focused on cats. So check that out if you want to see that. But just briefly, it is possible to feed a cat a vegan diet and have them thrive and be healthy, but it's very difficult, particularly for males, because it means monitoring their urine pH on a regular basis and making their food from these mixes that you have to mix up and cook and all of that stuff in order to avoid stone formation that can be life-threatening. So this is from the Vegan Cats website. I mentioned this again in that video I have on feeding cats vegan. They recommend never to feed a male a strictly kibble diet, and ideally to not feed them any kibble whatsoever, to feed them one of their wet mixes using the Veggie Cat pH. It's basically a supplement that you mix in with other ingredients to make the cat food. They also say have their urine pH checked by a veterinarian or with your own testing strips, as outlined above, not just once, but periodically. If the pH is over 6.5 or if crystals are detected in the urine, you may need to introduce a methionine supplement into the diet and then get another pH reading done to make sure the supplement has been effective. So this is time consuming and potentially very expensive if you are having a veterinarian doing this, checking the urine pH and whatnot. And as Vegan Cats notes, most people are they're not going to do this. They may try it, but they're likely not going to stick with it. And unfortunately, that's been their experience. Although we have been giving advice for some time on how these problems can be minimized while still feeding a completely vegan diet, we have found that many of our customers have not been following this advice. So if you're up for it, if you are up for regularly checking the urine pH of your cat and making the food, obviously not homemade food, but from these professional mixes, something like the Veggie Cat pH formula, awesome. Without any testing, if you want to forego the pH testing, you might be able to feed your male cat 50 to 75% vegan if the cat has no history of stones, which is obviously an improvement over feeding 100% meat. And if you have or you adopt a female cat, it will probably be easier to feed that cat vegan since females are not as prone to these urinary tract problems. However, number two, cats are picky eaters. So even if you go through the trouble of finding a vegan cat food, a healthy vegan cat food, mixing up the Veggie Cat with all the other ingredients, making the recipes and all that kind of stuff, doesn't mean your cat's gonna be cool with it. Your cat may be like my cat and he may be cool with it for a little bit and then it's like, nah, I don't. Just for some reason he decides he doesn't like it anymore. So this is actually potentially a huge issue because just a couple of days fasting for a cat can be very dangerous. It can actually kill them. Cats, particularly middle-aged cats, are at risk for hepatic lipidosis. Normally, when a body is undernourished or starved, the body automatically moves fat from its reserves to the liver to be converted into lipoproteins for energy. Cats' bodies are not designed to convert large stores of fat, so when a cat is in starvation mode, the fat that is released to the liver is not processed efficiently, resulting in a fatty and low-functioning liver. As the fat accumulates in the liver, it becomes swollen and turns yellow. Because it is not able to process red blood cells efficiently, the yellow pigment that makes up a portion of the red blood cell is released into the bloodstream, causing a yellowing of the eyes. If not treated promptly, hepatic lipidosis can lead to various complications and eventually death. This condition also frequently occurs in conjunction with illness, periods of stress, changes in diet, diabetes, kidney disease, cancer, aggressive weight loss attempts by owners, and being lost away from home and meals. By the way, this is also why releasing a domesticated cat into the wild is probably a death sentence. If the cat hasn't learned to hunt effectively or it hasn't developed a taste for small animals, it just doesn't have the time to do so. Maybe you're lucky and your cat will eat vegan. You found the one cat that's not picky. Good for you. Or, maybe your cat will only eat meat, but it will eat one of the cat foods that's composed, mostly of byproducts, which is better than. I talked about this again in the video on feeding cats vegan. Or maybe, unfortunately, the only thing that your cat will eat is the premium stuff, which means that you could be killing hundreds of chickens or worse to keep your picky cat alive. Number 3, cats hunt even if they aren't hungry. Even if your cat is well fed, even if your cat loves the food that it eats, if it gets outside, it will very likely hunt and kill lots of small animals. Free-ranging cats on islands have caused or contributed to 14% of the modern bird, mammal, and reptile extinctions. Mounting evidence from 3 continents indicates that cats can also locally reduce mainland bird and mammal populations and cause a substantial proportion of total wildlife mortality. Despite these harmful effects, policies for management of free-ranging cat populations and regulation of pet ownership behaviors are dictated by animal welfare issues rather than ecological impacts. Based on the study's estimation of up to 4 billion birds and 22.3 billion mammals killed by free-roaming domestic cats a year, with 31% of that being caused by owned cats, your kitty, if you let him or her outside, which is between 40 and 70% of the 84 million owned cats, could be responsible for 37 bird deaths and over 200 small mammal deaths every year, or in total over 15 years of life, at least 600 and possibly over 3,600 animals. On top of that, they may even kill other cats if they aren't killed themselves, since death by catfight is one of the 2 leading causes of mortality in outdoor cats. The trolley problem I showed earlier, adjusted for the true scale of destruction caused by domestic cats, looks quite different. Of course, if you feed your cats vegan and are lucky enough that they actually like the food and you keep them indoors, then this isn't an issue. However, number 4, cats get bored and prefer to roam. Recent research tracking a number of cats showed that some feral cats have ranges of over 1,000 acres. The owned cats had significantly smaller territories and tended to stay close to home. The mean home range for pet cats in the study was less than 2 hectares, 4.9 acres. While that is substantially smaller, it shows that given the opportunity, even cats who primarily live indoors inside of the house, they prefer to roam and go farther than just the backyard. It's not clear if the primary reason for roaming is because they like to hunt, or it's just because they enjoy walking around. Assuming it is the roaming itself that the cats enjoy, well, if you have a 200,000 square foot mansion, then your cats are probably going to be pretty fulfilled. If you don't happen to have a house that big, which obviously you probably don't, what you can do is have like an outdoor enclosed cat run. You could also have some cat runs inside. These constructions can effectively increase your cat's play area, although it's not clear by how much. Unfortunately, the average apartment is only about 1,000 square feet. That's less than 1% of the space that they would prefer to roam around in. And all of these extras, the cat runs and everything else, they are expensive and time consuming. Not everybody wants to spend thousands of dollars creating a cat paradise, and nor should they. It's not a very good use of money when that money could save so many lives when it is devoted to more effective altruism. Like, for instance, giving it to Mercy for Animals, which you can do right here. It can also help to have fewer cats, particularly if they are over 2 years old, as a recent study suggested. While kittens actually like to have a lot of playmates, older cats really don't tolerate a lot of company. The important point here is that cats are not dogs. They don't like to go out on walks with you. They typically don't like to be on a leash. They don't like to go for walks. They don't relish human contact like dogs do. They don't really like contact with other cats. There aren't cat parks where they can go run and play. Dogs are a serious commitment too, obviously. They need, at least a couple of walks a day. They need a lot of time with you. But contrary to popular opinion, cats really do require a lot more work. Cats who are cooped up in such suboptimal conditions, which they very likely are, most cats are, it's pretty much the norm, they can become lethargic, they can overeat, and they really don't seem to live very happy lives. Dogs have evolved along with humans for many thousands of years, and there are good reasons to believe that well cared for dogs are happy. They're happy in our company. But we just don't know a whole lot about the psychological state of cats, of domesticated cats who really at this point are only marginally domesticated. People think that cats are easier, but I really think that the opposite is probably true. It's just that cats' needs are so often misunderstood and ignored. Number 5, cats are disease vectors. This is particularly true of younger cats and cats who go outdoors, but it can affect indoor cats as well based on lingering infection as a carrier or caught from pests entering the home. Cats can bring disease threats into your home, and it can pose a problem, it can pose a risk to your other pets, to you, and to your family. The most dangerous to people is one that cats commonly carry because it reproduces inside of them, toxoplasmosis. And toxoplasmosis is as reliant on cats as malaria is on mosquitoes. Without cats, it would be eradicated. The acute form is usually only life-threatening to the very young, to the unborn, to people who are immunocompromised, but even in a healthy adult, the toxoplasmosis parasite may be harmful. Studies have found that infected individuals are at an increased risk for suicide attempts, schizophrenia, and poorer cognitive performance. The human suffering that cats cause in this case, much like mosquitoes, is hardly their fault. But when you add it up with all of the other problems, all of the other damage caused by cats, it's not exactly helping their case. Number 6, cat poop and cat litter are toxic waste. Thanks to the toxoplasmosis parasite, which again is present in their fecal matter, in places like California, you are not allowed to flush cat feces. Studies are showing that toxoplasmosis, a parasite found in cat feces, has infected marine mammals and otters. Toxoplasmosis cannot be destroyed by sewage treatment and therefore escapes into our waterways, where crabs and starfish will feed on it, thus jeopardizing the health of other marine mammals who feed on the crabs and starfish. Toxoplasmosis can cause brain damage and death in sea otters. There's nothing to do with cat poop except for burn it or bury it, where it will then ferment into methane, as we know, a potent greenhouse gas. See my video on food waste here, where I discuss this issue with regard to kitchen waste. And finally, number 7, cats breed incredibly fast. Cats can have as many as 9 kittens, but on average, it's about 4 per litter. And they can have a litter as soon as 6 months of age. Given a 50-50 male to female ratio, that is tripling the female cat population every 6 months. 1 pregnant kitty ready to give birth becomes 3 pregnant kitties ready to give birth just 6 months later, which becomes 9 6 months after that, and then 27, and then 81 female cats pregnant, ready to give birth at 2 years. Add the male cats onto that, and you have a population of 162 cats in just 2 years from one pregnant cat. And it's actually worse than that because 6 months is only the time it takes for a newborn kitten to be ready to give birth. An adult cat can have kittens every 4 months. The only things that just barely keep their populations in check are disease, murder, and starvation. It cannot be stressed enough just how important it is to always spay and neuter your cats, even if you think your cats will never get outdoors. Please spay and neuter your cats. It is a moral obligation to do so. If you don't, you run the risk of creating more cats in feral conditions that will suffer in those feral conditions, and also people that will suffer those cats and their diseases. In addition, spaying and neutering can help to reduce the desire to roam, that primal desire to roam, which can make your cats happier as indoor pets, or at least less miserable. The only thing more cruel than leaving a cat intact with a powerful sex drive and keeping it away from any mates would be to let the cat outdoors to breed multiple generations of feral kittens who are doomed to suffer. Follow the golden rule here. Assuming you could never have sex, you had no way to release any sexual frustration. Remember, cats don't even have porn. Would you rather have a stronger sex drive or a weaker sex drive? In such a situation, I would want to be spayed or neutered to reduce my suffering. In conclusion, if you must get a cat, adopt, and please get a female, get her spayed, never let her outside, and do your best to feed her vegan. Beyond that, try to make her tiny prison as engaging as possible. And for you, try to find some way to cope with your contribution to the billions of pounds of cat poop that's rotting in landfills every year. So those are the reasons why I will not be adopting another cat, as much as I love cats, and I really do adore cats. I've never lived without a cat. I'm really not a dog person. I know I spent all that time hyping up dogs, but I really am a cat person. I just think they're so cool. Ever since I was a little baby, we've had at least one cat. So it does make me very sad to think that sometime, very likely in the near future, given Sniff's very, very old age, I will no longer have a cat. That's very sad, but I just cannot reconcile all of the problems for the cat itself, for the environment, for the wildlife, for humans. I can't reconcile that with the benefits. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's not a very happy one, but I think it's a pretty important one. It's one that I've not wanted to do at all because it makes me sad. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. If you want to subscribe, obviously subscribe, and I will have a new video hopefully soon.